All right, guys, finally, I am able to talk about the Heimdallr or Sharky uh, Seiko monster type looking watch, right? I know since its release, everyone's been asking me what my thoughts are on it. Am I going to get one? Well, it took one of my founder members, Mark, sending it in for me to check it out because I never really felt like buying one, even though they're dirt cheap. You can pick these up for like 150 bucks. Uh, I mean, that's cheaper than even when in the heyday when I picked up my srp309 from Amazon in 2014. I think it was like 170-ish or something like that. So they were crazy affordable. And these are even more affordable now. So, and it's a near one-to-one, guys. So if you really want to experience a Seiko, tooth style, SRP style monster, I don't know, I say go for it. I mean, really, what do you got to lose? You know, if you decide that you're like, you know what, I love the monster. Random Rob was right. The monsters are awesome. You can go spend more money and find the other monsters. You can get SRP 309s, $600 to $1,000 range. Is that a lot of money? Yeah, but if you really love the Seiko Monster and you tested that theory with one of these, then go for it. Pick a colorway, whatever it is, and buy it. It's not a bad deal. Even in current market prices for the SRP 309, I still feel like it's valid. I don't have a problem with it at all. If I wanted to buy another one, I would do it, but I don't. I have mine and I'm good to go. So let's talk about this one. And if you own one of these, I want you to comment down below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Is this enough for you? Are you happy with it? And all of that. So we are looking at a 42.28 millimeter. And I have a hard time even believing that. Let me check it again, because yeah, it's like 42. It's crazy. Yeah, it's just over 42, whereas let's measure this one again, because I feel like my measurements were off or something. Yeah, so the original one's like over 42. It's like 42.4, and this one's like 42, basically, just over 42. So a little bit narrower than the old original guy. And I think that's partly because the bezel and the case line up a little bit more, whereas on the old one, the case actually protruded out a little bit. Lug to lug, nearly identical, 47.7 basically on both of them. Thickness, this one here, the Heimdallr, Sharky, whatever you want to call it, is about 13.5 millimeter. I'm not sure if it's just the case back or what, because I really don't think the sapphire crystal adds anything to it, but I think it's more of the case back, whereas the case back on the Seiko is maybe a little more trim, not much, but it doesn't take much. 13.5, about 12.78 on this guy. And 20 millimeter lug width on both of them, even though the beginning part of the bracelet's actually like 22, and both of them, the bracelets taper down to, hold on a second, this one's 20 and it stays at 20, and yeah, so this one's, yeah, they're both 20 at the taper. Anyway, the bracelets are very similar, with an exception of they don't do the big jump here that the Seiko clasp does to get down to the smaller clasp. They stay at that 20. A lot of people griped about that odd jump here at that last link, whereas this one has a more micro brandish 3 micro adjust double pusher fold over milled center but stamped on the outside clasp, and that just keeps it so it's a straight 20. So you may like that, may not like that. Personally, I like the Seiko clasp more. I'm just used to it. I'm old school that way, even though I really feel like this clasp is actually probably better, being that it's milled and you don't have the weird taper. But that's just me, I guess, being a purist about a watch that I love. The crown, both of them are 7 millimeter, and then when you pop it out, the depth, even though I thought this one was taller, they're both at 4.5 millimeter. For some reason, I just felt like it was a little bit taller, and I think it's just because the milling on this is sharper and a little bit larger than the smaller fine milling on this one. Kind consequently, the traction or the grip on the Heimdallr crown is superior over the Seiko, hands down. Let's talk about NH36 versus 4R36. So movement's essentially the same. I believe this is the sapphire crystal, whereas the stock one had hard lex and mine's actually scratched. The other one here actually has a sapphire crystal insert done to it, so you can upgrade that if you wanted to match that. Also, just a little plug, when I hit 50,000 subscribers, I will be doing a giveaway, and this actual watch is the giveaway. This is mine, original one, and this is one that I purchased just for the 50,000 subscriber giveaway. So, and I will do a separate video explaining on how to do, enter into that. But let's get back to this guy. So, the scallops on the side are a little bit different, as you can see. They kind of like taper down on the Heimdallr, whereas on the Seiko, they were a little more straight and then just kind of rounded out. So depth is about the same. It's just they're a little bit different profile. But other than that, it's very similar. The Seiko shroud pinch, if you're familiar with that, like when you're turning the bezel, sometimes people will say that their skin or finger gets bit right here. I feel like the Heimdallr is sharper than the factory Seiko one, so that bite might really bite you. The 120 click bezel action on it is very nice feeling, but it doesn't feel like Seiko. It feels like their own thing, which is fine. And really what is missing, I think, is the gasket resistance, whereas the Seiko, when you spin the Seiko, it still has that same kind of clicky feel, but it's muted with the gasket resistance, and this one just doesn't have it. But it lines up perfect, and it functions fine. So I have no problem there. Some gripes. Let me pick on it a little bit, right? Can I do that? I mean, that's only $150 watch, but I still feel like I should be able to pick on it because, well, I don't know, because I like orange monsters, right? So, let's see if we can do this. Let's pick on it here. So the hour and minute hand, a little bit too much reflection on that one. Let me try this one. The hour and minute hand on the Heimdallr versus the, well, first elephant in the room, yellow printed lume versus the Seiko white, and then they'll both glow green. But if you look at the minute hand is more substantial on the Seiko versus the Heimdallr. I like the Seiko handset a little bit more. And then, oddly enough, I think it's even more dramatic because the hour hand on the Heimdallr is a thicker black print and maybe a little bit bigger hand, whereas on the Seiko, it's just more balanced. Everything is the same outline and everything, whereas on the Heimdallr, it's just awkward. Like, you either need to make a thicker black outline on the minute hand and make it wider, or you need to reduce it down on the hour hand. I think personally they need to land in between. They need to like balance them out a little bit. The black printing on the chapter ring is also way better on the Seiko. It's adequate on the Heimdallr, but it's not as bold. It just needs a little bit more, I don't know, bolder print on it, I guess. The other gripe I would have is the bezel numbers. They're just a little too big, I feel. And again, maybe it's just because I'm used to or familiar with the Seiko one. The Seiko one is just slightly finer if you look at it, and cleaner printing inside. There is some kind of like overfill or something on the Heimdallr, and they're just a little bit bigger. Some might like that, some might not. I personally don't. The other big gripe I have, and I know this might seem superficial to you, but check out the pip, how it's inset and framed. Yeah, love those scratches, right? This is my monster. It's all scratched up. Love it. So check out the pip on the Heimdallr. It just looks, I don't like it. I don't know how else to say it other than that. I just don't like it. But legit, guys, for 150 bucks and the accessibility, like in the other colorways and everything like that, you can't beat it. So definitely check one out if you just don't want to invest the money that is necessary to pick up an SRP monster. I don't have a problem doing this. It's not really, it doesn't affect the market at all because Seiko doesn't make these anymore. So, all right, let's kill the lights and check the lume, do a little lume comparison. Oh, you know what? Before we do that, we should probably pop it on wrist, right? I just feel like you guys have already seen these on my wrist a ton anyway. So here's the Heimdallr on wrist, and honestly, in low light, they could be sitting on the table next to each other, and, well, I would actually be able to tell the difference. I'd be lying to you if I said I couldn't, but most people are not going to be able to tell the difference. So I know my orange monster. You could put a lineup of 10 monsters on the table, and I'm confident that I could actually pick my monster on that table. But hopefully nobody ever challenges me on that. All right, let's kill the lights and check the lume on this bad boy. Okay, the lume is good. It's very good. It's Seiko good. I'm not mad about the lume at all, guys. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next vid.